The man on the screen behind me is named Greg Scroggins. He was one of the very last people that was with Kim Clement. He was, in fact, who Kim Clement requested to be with him, other than his family, Kim Clement's family, during the last parts of his life. Greg was literally around during the last days before Kim Clement died. And this interview back here I did several years ago with Greg Scroggins in California. He called me on the phone several days ago and said, there's a prophecy that I need to share with you, that I'd like to share with you, that came to me on the election night of the election between Trump and Joe Biden. And he said, I didn't want to watch the news because I didn't want it to raise my blood pressure on that evening. So I went before the Lord and I asked him, I said, Lord, is any of this stuff true? Or I don't want to put words in his mouth. And I will do an interview with him where he lays it out precisely what was said. But here's the essence of it, that he went before the Lord and he asked, is this really going to happen? Are you really going to give Trump the victory tonight? And the Lord told Greg Scroggins, said, yes, Donald Trump will absolutely be the next the continuing president of the United States. And more than that, then in the coming weeks, and this is what he told me a few days ago, in the coming weeks, you are going to learn of an enormous scandal. You're going to learn of an enormous scandal. He had more to say than that, but I felt so encouraged by that at the moment that he said that to me, and even thought to call me on the phone and say that to me, that it took me back to these clips of how Greg Scroggins first met Kim Clement, and I'd like to play those for you now. I also asked Greg, I said, how did you hear this? And he said it was like a voice, like the Lord often speaks to me, where it was like an audible voice, literally out of thin air, that told me that. And he said, on election night, I slept like a baby, and I haven't watched the news since. And without further ado, I'd like to play these clips of one of the men that Kim Clement trusted most in the entire world, Greg Scroggins.
Earth and transformed. When I was a child, my dad was a prophet and prophesied over me and would tell me, son, you are a prophet. My anointing will be greater upon you, but there will come a time that you will serve the end time prophet, the greatest prophet in these days, and you will serve him and you will protect him. So I used to, as a boy, would say, come on, man, I don't care about none of that.
This is when you were how old, you think?
I was about 10 when he started prophesying it over me. And then he would periodically, when I was 14, 15, 17, 18, he would always do it. And it got to the point where it was annoying.
What was your background with the Assemblies of God?
Kind of Assemblies of God. I always remember my dad taking me, but my dad was he was a prophet and he was a rebel, kind of like Kim.
Yeah.
And so the church didn't know how to take him. And my dad would his ministry was called Kick Satan's Ass International, KSA. So, and Kim was at that, when I finally met Kim, was Kick Double Butt. He toned it down just so the churches wouldn't throw him out. So that was a connection over all of these years, just that connection in itself.
Yeah.
So finally, as time goes on and I go to one of the Kim's meetings and my spirit just leaped inside me. And it was packed. There was just people out in the streets, monitors in the streets. And I was up against the back wall of the stage, and Kim came across the stage, leaned over all the people. I was in the back and said, let's go kick Satan's ass together. And when he did, my spirit leaped inside, right? You're like, oh, wait a minute, that couldn't have been spiritual, right? He said a cuss word, No, it was very, very prophetic for what was to come, So that's what started our relationship. So my father, I brought him to one of his meetings, and at the end of the meeting, I said, well, Dad, what do you think? He said, boy, that's the prophet I've been telling you about. Now, when you have dinner with him, I said, I ain't gonna have dinner. I don't even know the guy, He says, no, when you have dinner with him, you tell him he's walking a razor's edge. You lean a little to the left, it'll cut you. You lean a little to the right, it's gonna cut you. but that's that anointing. It's the most powerful anointing, but it's a price to pay. And so that's what it is. And when you have an anointing like Kim had, like one I've never seen before, when you have that kind of anointing, that too much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
And I watched that man 7 days a week. When he told the people he prayed in his garden in the morning and prayed at night, he did, because I was there. And he would lock himself in that garden. I watched
Tell me about the garden. Now they've moved houses. I actually asked Jane to see the garden. Tell me what the garden was like. You've been out there with him. He talked a lot about that.
Yeah, I helped build the garden.
You built it.
Yeah, well, it developed. Let's put it that way. The garden developed over time. Kim was at my house the last time he was in Houston, and he looked at me and he said, "Greg, I won't be back here. God has called me to fast and to take this ministry to a whole new level, and I'm becoming a prophet to the world and to nations and to kings and queens." And that's exactly what happened. So he came and he started with this little tiny garden, and he would spend his time fasting and praying. And he, we all hear about, well, surely he's not praying for 3 hours in the morning and all,
But he would.
He did. And he would not only did he have one iPad, he would have 2 iPads with everybody's prayer requests on a stand in that garden, and he would pray over every one of them, thousands. And he would spend, that's why it took hours. The thing that I loved about the garden was it had big, huge redwood trees all in a row down one side. Massive, massive redwoods, beautiful. And then it had a beautiful stone path, and the pictures you've seen online, that's what it looked like. And it was a special place. When you walked in there, I literally saw one time God moved those huge redwoods. Kim was in there praying, and he would never let anybody come to the garden until after 10 a.m. And so I was waiting, and normally he would text me when he was done. And I was sitting outside, and I saw the trees, no wind, nothing. All of a sudden, these huge trees just go whoosh, whoosh. And a few minutes later, Kim texted me, "Greg, come. God just visited me." Just amazing things. I can go on and on. A barrenness is gone. The young people and even the old, there's a barrenness not only in the wombs. There's going to be a whole massive babies. Lots of babies are going to be born. It's going to be just huge. They're going to go, wow! It's just so many babies are being born. This is the army of the Lord, and the ones that are little now, the youth that are right now. So this is just without getting deep into it, is just what God is going to use. And these will be the ones that will raise the dead. These will be the ones that will open blind eyes, deaf ears. These will be the ones that will see divination and it'll run. These will be the ones that'll see the spirit of wickedness and it'll run. This will be, and they won't be churched. They will be filled with the Spirit, like the Bible teaches us. Yeah. I knew you in the womb. Yeah. But they will be filled with the Spirit, and they will have understanding that will just automatically be there.
Gregory.
That is the part of the testimony of Greg Scroggins. I think he has more on that particular encounter with the Lord that he had on election night that he would like to share possibly in a couple of days. Also, Donna, the Clement family at houseofdestiny.com, as I understand it, is going to be releasing Jane Clement found some prophecies of Kim. Coincidentally, she apparently was calling Donna about these clips that they've asked to keep exactly what's said private. They're strong, guys. I just thank the Lord for this President of the United States that we've had. And I ask you to thank the Lord with me. They have some powerful stuff to say. Greg told me he's not turned the news on, and he slept like a baby after he heard from the Lord. He clicked the news off, and CNN was explaining how, I guess, Trump was in the lead, and somehow lots of votes for Biden started showing up, however that worked. And Lord talked to him. If you can support House of I would ask that you honor that you consider. I am very thankful for the Clement family and houseofdestiny.com. That's where they're going to release the prophecies that these are very strong. What Jane found, they're strong. God bless every last one of you. Thank all of you for watching God in the Nutshell. Come over and get a set of our books. I don't even know where they are. But I'm Trey Smith of God in the Nutshell, and I wanted to get this up for you tonight. We've got streams of stuff that you can watch at godinthenutshell.com. God bless every last one of you and your families on the other side of the screen.